Welcome. These will be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 13, Forget. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video be. There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it, all of which I love. Not spoiling any episode that came out after this one. And, so I really appreciate the way that this episode, we're gradually getting to the point where, or perhaps not so gradually, but we're getting to the point. We're making progress towards the point where, Rick and his group take over. But we're also seeing they definitely are forming some attachments and considering if, I feel like by the end of the episode, Sasha's really the only one who's like 100%, not Alexandrian. And I think that does pretty well cover the general. So, right, before I do scene by scene, I wanted to note, so I listened to the commentary track for the episode before this one, and they point out that they made sure that every shot, of the outside of Alexandria, whenever they're not inside, and the exterior bit of Alexandria, we can always see the wall. So we're always reminded this is still, there are zombies on the other side of that wall. I think that was the only thing that I should have said about the episode before this one that I'm currently confident that I didn't. I also really like the way that the I guess no, yeah. Let's go scene by scene. So, yeah, throughout the episode, Sasha is very much, she's still struggling. She hasn't really, because of Ty, obviously. And at the start of the episode, she can't sleep, clown leader, and she keeps looking at these photos. And yeah, so she bags the photos, doesn't tag them, then goes and gets guns, or a gun at least. And I really love the line, I used to get up early and open a store. For 7 years, my brain is still accustomed to the thing that I no longer need to do, which is such a wonderful, because like that's a thing in the real world, in the non-zombie apocalypse world. And yeah, I really appreciate it. The idea that it is still, that's still a thing at that point. And we also see, Sasha, the way that she is, yeah. And there's even the thing about, shit, what was it, like yeah, if you kill, what's it, if you kill a boar, can you get me a leg? I hear it's, I'd like to make prosciutto out of it, and Sasha is like, sure, I'm, like, and immediately it's set up, for her, this episode, it's all about how, these fucking people, just unbelievable that this is what they think about, which is, there, if you've suffered, if you're, what's the term, if you're dealing with trauma response, and then it can be, very upsetting to see people who, act like the thing that's horrifying to you, either doesn't exist or shouldn't have power, that sort of thing. And yeah, so she goes out, she sets up these photos. I know I am the no wrong way to grieve guy. I guess nobody but me has called me that. I don't know if maybe I need to submit a form to officially be that guy. But I am also the careful you don't do something that is destructive towards yourself or others when you grieve guy. And I don't know if it's super healthy for her to be shooting, like, okay, if she wants target practice, like, shoot at a branch or something, but yeah, she's shooting at photos of people who are dead or zombies, because what they represent, yeah, all that's been lost. And then these fucking people inside Alexandria acting like things are the way they used to be, So yeah, and every time she takes a shot, she turns around, she looks, and we do hear something, we hear like zombie growling at least one point, and clearly, like, they do such great, God, the fucking sound design on the show is amazing. It's very clear there's not actually a walker there. This is what, like, in her mind, they're everywhere and they're gonna come any second now. She even says, "Come and get me," or something to that effect. And yeah, just fantastic episode opener. And I think, yeah, okay, I know I am not remembering the correct order of scenes in this episode, but let's see. For sure, there is a meeting outside, and they're talking about, well, there's only one walker. If we wait around, it'll show up. And they talk about, okay, so there's a latch, and they're watching Daryl, but you know Carol gets to be invisible again, which, like, I love the way they set that up and then subvert it, because, like, yeah, technically, no one, bats an eye when, oh, she left. Or, like, if anybody was like, I don't see Carol anywhere around, like, they wouldn't think, oh, she and Rick are gonna, grab some guns and take over control, They'd be thinking, did she make another batch of cookies? So just, but the kid followed her because he thought she made another batch of cookies. Just, oh God, it's so good. It's so fucking good. And I have more to say about Sam and Carol, obviously, but I think I'm gonna get to it when I get to it later in this video. But yeah, let's see. So the the thing about, Daryl's about to shoot, and then Carol fires and purposefully doesn't take it out immediately. Like the yeah, very very clever way to, because, like, they're gonna check and they're gonna be, oh wow, you must have killed a lot of zombies. So yeah, very very clever. And they don't go so far. They go outside so that they can talk without anybody, don't scheme in hallways, but they don't go so far that they might end up having to really focus on zombie killing. And I guess that is, it's kind of like, there's places you could position your player character in one of the Left 4 Dead games where you'll have a pretty easy time. Now, I think that pretty well gets us. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, um, there's the thing about there's the conversation about we're having. Oh, right, yeah. So it's Deanna explains about well, we had the uniforms because there really were cops here once upon a time. Um, and all you'll be doing is resolving arguments and such, and there's also like great when Rick is talking about, like, I mean, if all they wanted was to stop like physical fights, why not deputize Daryl? Like, what is going on here? um and yeah, so the conversation, yeah, and there's the thing about that they'll respect you because and they talk about like why, and she says, because I'll make sure that they do, which again, like, very very politician-y. And yeah, it is, again, like, she just the way she words things and the way she, like, yeah, she's the her style of leadership, I think, is it's a we haven't really seen a leader of a group of survivors so far in the show that behaves in quite this way. So I quite appreciate, yeah, I think most of what I've you know yeah, I said most of what I have to say about her in my video on the episode before this one. I don't want to repeat myself. Yeah, let's see. I think, doesn't that bring us to the, yeah, so the yeah, um he points out about, well, can we talk security? There's something about the wall, and he points out people could climb over. So I guess he watched the previous episode too, and points out the greatest threat are people, not walkers. Because yeah, like, the walkers are not going to climb that that high up. Like, this is not World War Z. I've only watched the trailer of that, and I think at some point I will watch it. But yeah, they talk about the tower. It's like, well, there was definitely someone up there. Oh yeah, my son sometimes, I think it was her son. So he'll sometimes be up there. I don't know. I guess he stuck around a little bit. And yeah, the Rick points out there should be a round the clock guard up there. Which again, like, that does make sense. I really appreciate I don't know if it's so much still a clash at this point. It is starting to become like more of a mix of these two cultures, I suppose you could say. The way that they interact, so far, most of the time, it's either been, okay, this is just a place we can stay and be ourselves, or, okay, we're gonna have to fight these people. Yeah. And Sasha asks to have as many shifts as at all possible. And then Deanna goes, why? And eventually goes like, okay, but you have to come to the big party. And then Sasha is like, why? It's like they just discovered that letter. There's others. No, seriously, it was a really compelling conversation. And yeah, let's see. I guess I think that brings us to where the yeah, so Carol goes, and is told, there's the conversation about, what was it, replacing chocolate with applesauce, and I love her line, girls gotta keep her secrets. I mean, that is just stone cold fact right there. It's just not the kind of secret that I want to say. The other girl's name is Olivia. Sorry, woman, not girl. Um, it's not what Olivia might be thinking is the secret. And then the yeah, some guys come in, and there's the thing about, I've had a gun or two, but nothing like that. And like, Tobin is like, oh, I'll teach you. And it's this, like, I mean, in a way, I don't know, I guess maybe it's, I don't know, uh I'm trying to not like overly judge. There's circumstances under which the way he acts could be read as condescending. Let's go with that. And here, like, I don't know, I do feel like he genuinely is just trying to help. He, like, it would be one thing if she had said, oh, oh yeah, I know all sorts of guns, and then he started mansplaining guns. That would be one thing. But no, like, she said she doesn't really know it, and then he says, like, I could teach you. He might not even have to charge. And the way that she, so she sees the latch, and it's like, okay, gotta be careful that they don't notice. She goes up to where it is, and we see, like, the way she's standing, you can see how she could undo the latch, and when she walks away, the camera lingers, and we see, yeah, she undid the latch. But I think, yeah, I thought they did a really great job with the, she's invisible, again, with the thing about, I can only ration you a quarter plate of chocolate. Oh, help yourself. There's no, like, I gotta watch you. You're still so new. I gotta watch to make sure you don't take too much chocolate. Don't tell Sasha that that's something they might be worried about. She's not gonna be okay with that. I think that pretty much brings us to the party. Oh, wait, right. Sorry. Aaron and Daryl out and about. Um, I was trying to figure out who Aaron reminds me of. It's Topher Grace, and maybe that's in part because there's Predator franchise on my mind because I'm rewatching the movies to prepare for the new one. But I don't know. I feel like there's a certain resemblance. But yeah, I love the thing, the exchange. Why are you following me? I didn't know I was. And he's out there hunting. Yeah. Tell me about the rabbits again, Aaron. And yeah, they spot the horse. And Daryl was so fucking close, He's and like, yeah. I mean, I didn't, before watching this show, I didn't think that I was like a horse lover. Not even if it was cold out. But I gotta say, it's getting to me when they have a horse be zombie chow. But yeah, God damn it, he got so close. And it's also like he was able to return his focus to the walkers when it got there. But he did focus almost entirely on the horse for a little bit there, So yeah, like, there is a chance Alexandria could, you know, turn them soft. Let's see. I think that might, but yeah. So it runs off, and unfortunately, ultimately, you know, I mean, I get it. Buttons pressed, runs, and ends up completely surrounded, and I'm glad I know enough about filmmaking to know they did not hurt that horse. They had it, because like what we see is like actors in makeup going up and like putting their hands on it, and you know the yeah, that's not like that's just a matter of making sure the horse feels comfortable around that person. You know, horse wrangler, I think it is still called, animal wrangler, horse wrangler will be able to do that, you know, and they have the horse lie down in a way that it could get back up. You know, it's not like actually injured. And then they cut in that, you know, they're like eating horse flesh and such. But yeah, after that, they shoot horses, don't they? That was genuinely sad. Like, I was hoping that Buttons would become an Alexandrian. God damn it. Yeah. And it was a Black Beauty, too. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah. Aaron says, you know, try at the party. And then later's like, if you weren't going to be at the party, why'd you ask me to go? I asked you to try. You did. I love the party. There is so much gold there. So, okay. First off, just craft. Love the way that they tend to have at least one extra walk through the frame very close to the camera. This creates this illusion that the party is bigger, because like some of the time we're seeing like just a couple of people talking. Sometimes it's two people talking. To have a couple of people walking through frame, you know, feels like, oh, there's really a party there, because like if you know filmmaking, like no, like there's the extras and actors that make sense for the shot. That's it, you know, and it can be difficult if you're doing a scene where, you know, technically there's supposed to be a bunch of people around, but they're not in shot. You know, a lot of productions resolve it with ambient noise. You know, just have chatter or clinking glasses, stuff like that. You know, but it works tremendously well to have someone walking through the frame, because it's a party. You know, each of these people, like, they just spotted someone they wanted to talk to, or they're going over for more to drink or eat or something. Like, yeah, just fantastic job there. The whole okay, Sam, the thing, right? And okay, I gotta briefly talk. So yeah, Deanna goes up, baby, which like, yeah, like it's babies are wonderful, you know. It's just like it's you know, when there's a new baby in the family, it's just so difficult. Or friend group, it's just you gotta, yeah, just to hold it, talk to, you know, just yeah. And Deanna, you know, she's a mom, and yeah, that was great. And you know, she talks about like, well, I didn't interview this one, which like I it would be wonderful if there really was an outtake with just Deanna asking, so Judith, what did you do before Alexandria? You were a fetus. Makes sense. But the yeah, so Carl, sorry, Rick is talking. Yeah, I love the bit where he hears Carl, and like, you know, immediately is like, oh, is he in distress? Because like normally when, you know, if he hears Carl before he sees him, you know, there's some chance it's dangerous. but like they're like playing a game or something, like a card game. It's like, no, that was a tie. You saw it. Tell him. You saw, So just like we haven't seen him like that for so long. Like he was like that at the start of the show. So just yeah. Um, but yeah, Carl talking to. I swear I'm trying to learn these names. Right, and for those new to my channel, I would check, but my wrists are in pain. I'm sorry. Hairdresser, Yeah, he talks to her, and I love when so, oh, this is my husband. And he's like, I could take a look at you one of these days. I'm a doctor. I should have led with that. And your hairdresser's like, it sounded pretty funny. But yeah, and it's again this thing because like he's so used to, they don't take in that many new people, so he's so used to everyone he meets. He could walk up to any Alexandrian who's been there for a while and just say, if you need to, I could check, like check you out, checkup. I could give you a checkup. And they would know what he means, but yeah. And then Sam comes over. Mom, there's no more cookies. And Uncle Rick becomes just like, because he is a dad, this is how he would talk to, Carl if they were still in a situation where that made any sense. But he's like, I happen to know who made those cookies. I asked, who's the baker among us? Tasted foot. But I could talk to her and she can make another batch of cookies all for you, and that's just yeah, it's a really wonderful, friendly thing to say. Unfortunately, it leads him to yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it would have like worked if Rick had been, young man, you need to learn that sometimes when there's no more, you don't go crying to mom about it. You just accept it. I'm not saying that would be a good thing to say, but like, I don't know, hypothetically, I don't think it would have, but maybe it would have meant that he didn't fucking follow the baker. Just because she was sort of invisible, but in another way, she had a spotlight on her. Because she wasn't literally like invisible to the naked eye, like those jets that Trump apparently thought were invisible to the naked fucking eye. Jesus Christ. But I mean, at least he's wasting a lot of taxpayer money breaking parts of the White House to build a fucking ballroom. Jesus Christ. I mean, I guess maybe the new let them eat cake is let them visit the ballroom. And yes, I am aware, let's see, it was not Marie Antoinette who said that. I'm just saying the phrase let them eat cake, which if I understand correctly was actually thought of by someone who did not think very highly of the powerful, to describe, their apathy towards the suffering of regular people. I just happen to think it's a good way to describe the apathy of the powerful towards regular people. That's all. Anyway, she's not invisible to the naked eye. She is... She's socially accepted as, the little baker among us. And that means that, like, because, like, if she weren't going for guns, essentially what he does, like, I'm not sure a hairdresser would even be that upset with him. It's like, you shouldn't walk off without telling me, but yeah, it's not like he left Alexandria or something, yeah. Let's see. The, yeah, I guess that does bring us to the goddamn Sam. So, she grabs a bag. I love that they don't spend forever on the thing about the window. Just see, the window's open. She's inside. She opened the window. We don't need to see her open the window and climb through or sneak all the way there. We saw, the little conversation about, no, remember, I'm invisible, so she leaves. Next thing we know, she's inside, and because that's the thing. If I recall correctly, when she left, that was after Rick. God damn it, why do I keep calling him Carl? Rick talked to Sam and said, I know who the baker is. And like, yeah, so let's see. There's a couple of options. Maybe Sam did already know who made the cookies. Kids like to keep track of who makes really tasty stuff, or who hands out candy if you go up to them and smile, stuff like that. Um, and yeah, maybe he asked someone, and I think any one of the grown women there could have told him exactly who made those cookies, and so he saw her leave, thought she was going for cookies, and just, God, it's so good, because like we see her, she's got the bag, she's putting weapons in there, and like we get this sense, oh, this is gonna go badly. There's something, something's gonna go wrong about this, because it's a perfect time, everybody's at the party, but do kids stay at parties if they don't think there's enough dessert? That's the thing that actually happened. Again, like, it's not like he walked like very, very far away. It's he's staying within this small community. Yeah, there are kids who will leave a party if they think there's something, tasty outside. Just like, and it also underlines how like the Alexandrians are like genuinely not. They are so coddled, like he just leaves like that, and suddenly you just hear, what are you doing? And yeah, he explains about the cookies, and you know, she says, "Oh, I could make another batch all for you. Would you like that?" And he's like, "Yes. I mean, yes, please." And then she points out, "I can only make those cookies if you don't tell anyone about what you saw here." And he's like, "But I tell my mom everything." And then she proves that she probably shouldn't read him a bedtime story ever. Her babysitting license has been revoked. Hand in every single one of the guns you just grabbed. Jesus Christ. And I gotta give props to the actress. Like, holy shit. Just fucking amazing. The whole thing. And yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think Carol wouldn't go quite that far, but she made him believe it. I half believed what she was saying. Jesus Christ. Yeah. And like, I mean, the thing is, what she's describing, like, it's not like she's saying, if you tell mom, a dragon will come get you, because he's not gonna believe that. He's past the age where he would believe that. But like, he doesn't know her that well. how could he know if she's telling the truth about what she's saying she would do? And what she's saying she would do, like, hypothetically, yeah, I mean, okay, so she waits until he's asleep, she sneaks in, drags him out, ties him to a tree far enough away that Alexandrians can't hear. Yeah, like, at that point it's simple math. If he's gonna scream because he's terrified, and it's gonna attract walkers, like, yeah. Jesus Christ, that's yeah. I don't know. I guess is that's the Walker equivalent of like a corn dog, isn't it? But the God, I could go for a fucking corn dog. I gotta see if I can find some place that sells them around here. I'm not sure I've had one since I was in America, and that was over 15 years ago last time. So anyway, yeah. And then after this entire like horrible, like, just yeah, like a campfire story, ghost story almost. Well, he would be eventually. Then she's like smiling. He's like, or I could make you cookies. I know which I think you should choose. I mean, it's like, goddamn. If she was not doing that in the name of a good cause, because it is like security and safety, this genuinely would be like fucking diabolical. Like, I try not to overuse terms like demonic and satanic, and not just because I don't believe in any religion, but yeah, I feel like they're overused. I've seen people call demonic shit that's like, really, and not only conservatives. I've seen some leftists overuse it, so I try not to overuse it. But yeah, I feel like that, yeah, it would apply here if not for the fact that they are going to make this place safer, And the yeah, Sasha. Actually, I guess before I talk more Sasha, I'll just briefly talk about, so yeah, Rosalita. I barely recognized her at first. She's actually, this is like, she's closer to looking like what the actress looked like in the Twilight movies. But yeah, her and Abraham, like, they really put an effort to look like they fit in here. And yeah, they're like, I don't know about this place. Oh, there's beer though. Just, yeah. And I guess I'll briefly talk about, so yeah, you know, I love the close up of the little sword for eating mashed potatoes, and yeah, Michonne is standing there thinking like, is this really, because it's such a contrast, eating mashed potatoes versus chopping up zombies. And Abraham comes out and points out, on the one hand, you do want to put down the sword, but on the other, you're scared you might get used to not having the sword. Just, yeah, I don't know. So maybe he's also a perceptive drunk sometimes. So he's mean, but also perceptive sometimes when he gets drunk. And yeah, I like her. So, how many beers have you had? I am a large man. I drink a lot of beers to compensate. And yeah, Sasha, genuinely, I think Deanna did think that this would be good for Sasha. It doesn't strike me as her trying to get rid of her, although what she did would be perfect for that, obviously. and yeah, like the PTSD, again, the show does such a compelling, um, the visuals and the audio when someone on this show is struggling with PTSD, on point, because it's you gotta be careful not to overdo it, because you don't want to end up feeling like you're essentially like making fun of, like mocking, you know anything that you can do sincerely. If you overdo it, it ends up feeling like mocking, even if it was not intended so. But yeah, these little close-ups, glass and people talking, and the audio, the way that it just builds and builds and gets to be too much, and then was that Mrs. Nudemeyer? Because they keep talking about, oh, she wants to make food, and the first thing she says is, I make everybody's favorite food first, But yeah, she asks Sasha, what's your favorite food? And Sasha says she's not sure, and Mrs. Nudemeyer is just not used to someone like really struggling socially because of trauma, because like there's other reasons. Maybe it's just shyness. I get the sense that she reads it as shyness, so she just pushes like, no, 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 it's okay. You're welcome here. This party is in part for you. I want to make you happy. Please tell me how I best do that, But yeah, she says, I make everybody's favorite when they get here, and I'm worried I'll make something you hate. And Sasha, God, so they handle it just right, because again, like if you push it too far, it ends up feeling like comedic or something, Um, but the dark comedy, I mean. But yeah, she says, worried. That's the kind of thing you worry about, because like yeah, that is very much. It's such a it's worlds apart, It's essentially offensive to Sasha. And yeah, Deanna lets her leave and says, I'm still trying to figure out what it is. I don't think you're telling me the whole truth. And yeah, I think that does just leave. So yeah, Daryl is invited in by Aaron, and right. I also really appreciate. I like the way that there's a little bit of bonding there. I feel like he's gone a long way from just telling him no one gives a shit. Like when the horse comes up, he's not like, what the fuck do I look like? You know, the God, what the fuck's it called? Do I look like Mitt Romney? Do I look like I want a dancing horse? What the fuck? Deal with your own shit, Jesus. I'm out here trying to catch food, But no, he actually goes, because there's with Daryl, if he really sees that you are a good person and that what you're trying to do is inherently good, a positive thing, yeah, like it might take a little bit of wearing him down. Carol kind of had to wear, she had to, if he was not receptive to her right away. With Aaron, like this is it's quick, and this is of course in part because he now has that positive relationship with Carol, and that's very true to life. Once you're comfortable around at least one person, it becomes much easier to become comfortable around other people. I went through that myself. Uh, yeah, but yeah. So he he put yeah, him putting out, they're still not completely comfortable with you. They're not comfortable with me either. Sometimes they will really say the most offensive shit, even though they're nice people, And he said, I'm not going to the party, because of Eric's foot. And yeah, the thing about, come on in. We've got plenty of pasta. Right. I also really like the thing with, you ride a horse? I ride a bike. I'm thinking it's not a 10 speed. God damn, Aaron. Please put down the microphone. Daryl doesn't think you're funny. You're going to have to learn to live with that. At least right now, he really does not. Your dad jokes are really not hitting the mark. And yeah, so, you know, I love that Daryl eats pasta like he thinks any second now there's gonna be a fucking war or something. Like, he's completely prepared. And the way that Aaron and Eric, smile at that. And Eric starts talking about, like, the pasta maker. We have lots of pasta, but she wants to make it from the ground up. And so if you find one when you're out there traveling, please bring it back. And then he realizes you didn't tell him yet. I love the dynamic between Eric and Aaron. Like, it really does feel like, you know, they've been together forever, and it's like, for keeps kind of thing. And just, yeah. Um, and then Aaron does go ahead and explain about, so you're going to need a motorcycle. And it's not like Grand Theft Auto Lost and Damned, where we're going to introduce a bunch of pretty cool mechanics and then not use them very much. Like, what the fuck was up with that? You are going to help me recruit. And yeah, Aaron, I'm glad you said it. So we didn't have to, because Eric does not seem like the best. Like, what was it? Like, he got scared, so he hid. Then his foot was run over by his own car. Yeah, like, these are not the best. And I love the exchange. I don't want Eric out there risking his life, but you're okay with me risking my life. Because, like, but no, he points out, you know what you're doing out there. And yeah, they're near the end where it genuinely does feel like if they might actually end up really loving Alexandria. And yeah, if they don't want to get used to it, they're really going to have to put in effort. Now, I am not sure about, like, so Rick, I get that they're physically close because she's handing, hairdresser's handing Rick Judith. The kiss, like, I feel, I get that it was cheek, not, you didn't kiss her on the mouth, but she's married. He knows because he met the husband, and he didn't really get consent, not even nonverbal. Nonverbal consent is consent. Yeah, I don't know. On the other hand, like, she happily waves to him the next day, so it seems like, I think the idea is like, oh, he's drunk. And it's, yeah. They did also point out on the commentary track for the episode before this one, they were a little worried about the flirty energy between him and Hairdresser, because they didn't want to go that far yet on that. And there was also a little bit too much flirty energy on Michonne. And there's a delightful exchange on the commentary track where Denai Guerrera and, I'm afraid I forget his name, but the director, I think it was, of the episode, they're talking about, like, did they argue, or was it just an exchange of opinions on, exactly how, yeah, because, like, the first take felt like, okay, that's a little bit too flirty energy, although apparently that's also the take that ended up in the episode, so, But yeah, um, yeah, like Rick standing there looking at the wall, and there's a walker outside. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers the episode. Just yeah, wonderfully done with the yeah. I really loved. So after Carol gets all the guns, she like Rick does take one, put in his the back of his pants, and we see later him like putting his hand near and the let's see, the thing with I think that's when Daryl says, you said I had to try it out. I don't know, I'm starting to like this place, kind of thing. um let's see. Yeah, I think, God, I feel like there's one more thing I really wanted to say about the episode, but I am not entirely sure. um I quite like when yeah, so Sasha comes in to the party, and Spencer, I think his name was, is like, hey, stick with me. You don't want to get stuck, talking to Mrs. Neunemeyer. She keeps talking about uh new pasta maker. I and Sasha's like, excuse me, I guess she really does want to hear about the pasta maker. It's new to her, but the yeah, let's see. Yeah, I really appreciate it when like Rick is talking about, like, we got to have a guard up in the tower 24/7, and Deanna is like, listen, I get that if it were up to you, everyone would carry a gun, but that's not going to happen. She's setting some boundaries, but she does also accept, although I guess they're going to have to find a new, primary um, guard, because Sasha, not sure she's coming back. Now, yeah, I did also really appreciate in this episode and the one before, the way that, obviously it's a, yeah, they talk about, nobody carries guns inside the Alexandria walls. They have to hand them all out over, but like they get to keep knives and the sword and the machete and stuff like that, which I appreciate. There's games where a weapon slot and an equipment slot are different things. So considering certain things that could be weapons as equipment instead can be beneficial. Seriously though, the fact that the way that they have, obviously it's gun control. Technically it's a sort of gun control. Again, like I said in my video on the episode before this one, it's possible that someone out there is saying otherwise, but every leftist that I watch, and it's in the dozens, every single one of them agrees we're not going to take guns away from, like, regular people who are already, who already have guns. We're talking about who gets to have who gets to buy a gun in the future should be regulated, common sense gun control. But yeah, it's, you could call it gun control that they're taking all the guns, because it is true that the higher number of firearms that there are, the higher number of shootings there also are. And let's see, what was the other thing? Uh, but yeah, letting them keep the knives. that's the sort of transition. Um, I guess if any transphobes were still watching this video, they'd leave at that. Please stop using pronouns and any word that has the word trans in it. We'll be, waiting for you to, like, eventually you're going to realize it's going to really limit your, use of language tremendously. So please tire yourselves out if that's if you insist, But the yeah, it's a way to transition because, like, they're used to carrying guns and knives. Now they're only carrying knives, and once they're comfortable in Alexandria, they're not going to carry around knives. And at the end of this episode, we do see, she tried to put up a shelf. What happened? Doesn't matter. And yeah, she makes a spot for her, a spot for her sword, and hangs it up there, symbolizing, like, she doesn't need to be carrying it around all the time anymore. Because, like, remember how, like, understandably so. I'm not saying it was, but, like, in Woodbury, like, she was like, where's my fucking sword? Like, immediately. So, and that also helps, we're seeing it's a very different community from Woodbury. But yeah, she hangs up there because she doesn't need to be carrying it all the time. She's becoming adjusted to the safety provided by Alexandria. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it just goes to show it is possible to hang a sword on your wall, specifically a East Asian sword, and not look like a complete douchebag, provided you're not a cishet white man who has an extremely frail ego and needs to show how much of a tough guy he is.